President Trump today renewed his call on Republican senators to end the filibuster rule to open up the government. But so far, some senators are hesitant over fears of the long-term impacts. Joining us now is Angie Wong, Republican strategist and political columnist, and George Carrillo, former Democratic candidate for governor of Oregon. Thank you both for joining us to discuss this.
Thank you.
So to begin, let's talk about what Trump has told Republican senators. He said that terminating the filibuster is the only way to end the shutdown. Now, first, your thoughts on the president's proposal, Angie.
Yeah, no, I think that is the only way forward. We just heard from Senator Chuck Schumer what he actually wants. It sounds pretty good. He wants a one-year extension of Obamacare, the affordable health care subsidies, but he doesn't mention where that money is going. And so President Trump, just in the last hour, he tweeted or truth socialed that he's afraid that Democrats are going to funnel money from the Affordable Health Care Act into Democrat-supported insurance companies, which then may end up in Democrats' pockets. So he doesn't want any of that. He wants all that money redirected directly to the American people so that Democrats can't play around with elections, etc. And I think that's exactly the right thing to do. Short of that, if that doesn't come around, then I think the filibuster, the nuclear option it's going to have to be the way, because we're at a stalemate here. We're at day 39. How much longer are we doing this? Because we're entering the busy travel seasons for the holidays, and federal workers haven't been paid. Our military is barely getting paid. And of course, SNAP benefits, even with all the speed rails in place, they're not going to last forever. By the end of the month, people might go hungry. So we really need to stop playing around with American lives and reopen the government.
Well, George, what do you think? I mean, should we do as Trump says and end the filibuster, or do you have some different thoughts about this?
I definitely have some different thoughts. I think this is the part of the president's demise, is that he keeps telling the American people false statements, and they're not true, and the American people are figuring that out. That's why Democrats had a sweeping win on Tuesday. And I believe what the president needs to be doing is actually having good conversations with Democrats, having and allowing the House and the Senate to actually engage in these negotiations. But right now, he's the leader of the party. He's not allowing for those negotiations to happen. And I believe that Senator Schumer's proposal to keep these House subsidies for the next year is a good call. There is no truth in what he's saying. This is going to help save lives and allow for people to have equitable access to health care. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's open up the government, but it just can't be the way the president wants it to be. Let's actually have conversations. And I believe if the Senate says we're going to remove the filibuster, it's going to prove to the American people that Republicans cannot negotiate with Democrats, and it will be their demise in 2026.
Well, Angie, the Senate majority does have the choice to abolish or change the filibuster rule through what we're calling, or what they call, the nuclear option. But it's considered by some to be an extreme option. So could this move guarantee that the government would be reopened?
Well, at the moment, Senator John Thune says he doesn't have the votes right now. But I bet if President Trump really needed this to happen, he can get on the phone, make some phone calls, make some deals. He is the art of the deal president, after all. So I think that could happen. But I think right now, Republicans in the Senate, they are stressing everything that they can to not do the nuclear option, because guess what? Democrats can then flip the cards and use it against us. And so this is not a great option, but at the same time, we are at a standstill. There's nothing else that we can do. Either side's just not giving in, and it's really a game of chicken at this point. But more importantly, you've got hundreds of millions of Americans right here waiting for this government to reopen. And we're starting to feel it now. We just came back from the airports. The airports are certainly, there's some delays. It's still running smooth right now. But when the busy holiday travel season really kicks off in the next few days, it's going to hurt.
Well, George, are there any short-term concerns for Democrats over this filibuster being ended through this nuclear option?
There's definitely concerns because of the fact that the president's going to get exactly what he wants, which is to remove these health care subsidies, and will damage the lives of many Americans, not just individual Americans, but families. We're talking about children. We're talking about accessibility to preventative care, healthcare screenings to help Americans determine whether or not they have terminal illness. This is a program that's very much needed to be able to stay intact, but we're going to see about 20 million people off the program if the Republicans go with this nuclear option. But I promise you, when Democrats are in power, and if they do this, then the Republicans will be the first ones that are complaining and trying to blame Democrats for not negotiating with them. So there really does need to be a compromise. There is alternative options. I believe Senator Schumer gave a great option. Let's keep the healthcare subsidies for the next year and let's reopen up the government. I think that is a good proposal to the president and to the Senate to say, let's get the government open. And over the next year, let's talk about what this new Republican plan in order to put forward to save healthcare. Unfortunately, Republicans have not brought any new legislative policy, nor the president, to replace the healthcare subsidies. So the only other option is for us to be able to hold out. And in the long run, it is hurting Republicans. It is hurting Republican constituents and Democratic constituents. But really, who holds the responsibility? It is the Republican Party.
Well, Angie, you said earlier that Democrats could flip the script on this. So what are you expecting that could potentially happen in the future if this filibuster's ended now in terms of the Democrats?
Well, yeah, no. And if Democrats gain control of the Senate, they can pass all sorts of things that they want, including packing the Supreme Court, which is something they've wanted for a long time, turning Washington, D.C. into a state, turning Puerto Rico into a state, because they know that they can win Congress that way and really stack the houses. So I think that is something that John Thune and other Republicans, they don't want this. They want to continue the shutdown a little bit longer, hoping to squeeze Democrats. But I just don't see that being the right runway at this point, mainly because neither side is moving along. Chuck Schumer, I think we're actually getting set up a little bit here with President Trump just doing on truth what he said, which is he wants money going to Americans' pockets for health insurance. He might actually be able to turn that into some sort of executive order. I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some sort of alternative plan to Obamacare coming out in the next few days.
Now, you've said earlier that the Republicans don't have enough votes to end this filibuster, but Trump has played down concerns that the Democrats could actually take power. So here's Trump explaining why on that.
If we do it, we will never lose the midterms and we will never lose the general election, because we will have produced so many different things for our people, for the country, that it would be impossible to lose an election.
Now, George, I think you kind of mentioned this earlier, but Trump believes Republicans will be able to push through what he sees as popular legislation and maintain power. So what are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe so. I believe right now that the president and his tactics over these past 11 months have not proven to be the right course for the American people. There is political overreach. He is overreaching with his executive power. And the American people are seeing that. And that's the reason why we saw what we saw on Tuesday. And so Republicans need to really find their political position, because if they stay loyal to Trump, then they're not staying loyal to their constituents. And we have to remember, this is the government of the American people, not of the Trump administration. So it's time for them to understand, what do their constituents need? Their constituents need to have affordable health care. They need to have benefits for SNAP recipients. They are the largest percentage of those Southern Republican states that actually are recipients of SNAP benefits. We need to get this. We need to get this government shutdown over with, but they need to find their own voice. They cannot rely on the president having the voice of the entire Republican Party, because as we see today, he is really going against Republicans. He's going against his own. He's throwing them under the bus, and so they need to find their own voice.
Well, Angie, do you think this is political overreach on Trump's behalf, or what do you think about this?
No, I mean, I've been saying use the nuclear option for weeks now. I mean, you can go back and see what I've been talking about. I think a lot of Republicans wanted this from the very get-go. We knew that this was going to be a political game. We knew that Americans were going to suffer because of this. Now it's just gone on way too far. This is the longest shutdown in history. It's time to end it all. But if the two sides can't play along well, maybe this has to happen. Now, I think to my colleague's point, President President Trump will not only use the filibuster for this one CR, but for a lot of things going forward, which he loves because this is his, last term in office and he wants to get as much done as possible. But it does take the same amount of votes to then flip back into the filibuster. I think that's what John Thune and other kind of more conservative Republicans do not want. They don't want a situation where we're on the back foot in the future. And I get all that. But what else are we going to do to reopen the government? I think you've got to use the nuclear option as soon as possible.
All right, George, could you give us some of your final thoughts before we go?
In closing, I would just say that the president is getting this wrong. I think if he really wants to be a uniter of our nation, then he needs to start by healing it. And he needs to come to the table and realize that Senator Schumer's proposal is actually very reasonable. And let's get the government reopened. We have an option. There's no reason to go to the nuclear option because the Republican Party is not going to like what happens in 2026 when we take over the House and the Senate. And then the president is going to be complaining and blaming his own party for doing the option that he wanted to do in the first place. So let's put politics aside. Let's open up the government. This is a good deal. And let's get the country back on track.
Well, it's day 39 and with both sides playing chicken, we don't know how long this can go on. Angie Wong and George Carrillo, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.